Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to the next in our series of webcasts as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series at Travel Weekly that we're bringing to you throughout this pandemic. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Gary Lewis, who is, of course, Chief Executive of the Travel Network Group. So welcome, Gary.
Hi, Lucy.
I think you've had a very, very busy few days. I've been trying to get hold of you for a while because, of course, last week, you made quite an announcement. You announced that you were proposing to buy, to acquire, I should say, the Global Travel Group. So that's obviously really significant for our readers. A lot of readers of both your organisation and Global, they're readers of Travel Weekly. And so we're really interested to hear a little bit more about the deal and what it's going to mean for both sides, both those organisations. So perhaps you can just bring us up to speed. It's a proposed deal, or is it definitely going ahead, and when will it complete?
So yeah, it is unusual that we've announced from the signing of the heads of terms. So we signed the heads of terms on Wednesday last week. We announced to all of the Travel Network Group members on Thursday morning. At the same time, Donata announced to the Global Travel Group members at the same time, and obviously we announced to you at the same time as well. And I know you embargoed it till 11:15 on that day. So very clearly, for us to announce before completion is incredibly unusual. The reason we have is based on a number of reasons. The first one is obviously in any challenging environment, opportunities come that wouldn't have been there before the challenging environment. And you saw the week before Donata make announcements around their view of what the world's going to be. Clearly, we've been having conversations with Donata for quite a while around Global. Really, from the start of the crisis was one of the conversations we had with them very early on about where we thought the world was going to be in the next 6 months to 12 months. And we all knew at that stage it was changing every hour, every day. I think we're now more into a marathon than a sprint, but those opportunities came, and what was very clear was there was a real open thought process from ourselves and Donata that Global Travel Group is a fantastic organisation, but is not core to Donata. And right now in this world, they should speak for themselves, but I think John Bevan would tell you that they are now focusing on what's core, and they needed to make sure the Global Travel Group members were considered and looked after and put into a place where their focus and core was a membership proposition. That's the Travel Network Group. So for us to be able to announce of heads of terms was key, that we'd already put a lot of the challenges away that would stop a deal completing through that process, and we've already done that. So we are incredibly sure that this deal will complete. The due diligences and obviously the normal warranties that go along with that have already been given and assured. We know we have a huge expertise in trust accounts and trust account models and membership propositions. So our expertise in that is already given with the Travel Trust Association and our understanding of that. So all the things that would normally scare a buyer doesn't scare us, and the fact that Donata there giving the relevant warranties to reassure us that it's been operated correctly and properly means that the most important thing for us was making sure that our members, existing members of the Travel Network Group, understood why it's important for them and us strategically to bring Global on board, and then also to explain to Global as quickly as possible, Global members, why we believe that they were the right fit for us to ensure that we help them through this crisis and they benefited from our scale as a Travel Network Group. And clearly one of the reasons why you've had such a trouble getting hold of me is we've obsessed since Thursday night to make sure that we're speaking to all those Global members and all of our Travel Network Group members to make sure that they're first and foremost aware of what we're trying to do.
Okay. And I really want to come back to what the reaction has been from both your TTNG members and the Global members, and we'll come on to that. But just in terms of the deal, you said you've been talking to Donata right from the start of the crisis.
Yeah.
Were you the only ones talking to Donata, or do you believe that you were in a bit of a bidding war, or were there other suitors for that Global business?
I think you'd have to ask Donata that. I don't believe we were. I think we were the only people having that proper conversation and the only real people that they would trust this with. We obviously have a fantastic relationship with Donata through Gold Medal and Travel too. I think we're their number one leisure consortia, and we've grown our business with them distinctly from not being the number one to being the number one. And in that relationship, in that time, we've gone from 600 members to 1,020 members over a good 6-7 year period, and demonstrated continually that we keep engaging in a way that helps them drive their business and their sales. And that's for all of our business partners. So I think part of Donata's strategy was making sure that the global members were really supported to help them drive distribution for Gold Medal and Travel too. And I'm putting words in their mouth, but that's what I would assume, and why they were happy that this is more about making sure the global members met and got to the right consortia rather than getting the best deal for Donata, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and talking about you being the right consortia for them then, why do you think you are so suited? I mean, you touched a little bit on it there, Gary, because you've got understanding of trust funds, etc. Both of you have got quite hybrid organisations, haven't you? You've got members that are really true independents that kind of stand on their own 2 feet, and they come into you for, certain elements of what you offer. And then you've got others that are much more dependent, that, on your payment systems, etc. And I think that it seems like you've got similar models, but you'll have looked at it closer. Why do you think that you're so suited?
Well, if you look at Global Travel Group, there's really two. I mean, all the members are individual members with their own business unique propositions, or maybe not unique, but they're their own businesses. But you've got two real core, either a global member that's on the managed service proposition, and that's very much like our managed service proposition within World Choice Plus, or you've got the independent options group, which is very much like our World Choice members. They're ABTA members who are coming to Global for the commercial contracts and other services they provide. So we're already running those propositions, and we have a huge in-depth knowledge of the trust account model and how to operate that, and a way of bringing synergies immediately, and we can demonstrate that through what we've already done. We can also demonstrate to Donata that we already have a huge range of solutions and services, and demonstrate growth for our existing members in a way that's been proven. So by them going to their global members and suggesting they're going to be selling Global Travel Group, and they would go with that sale, obviously it's an incredibly sensitive thing to be doing in the middle of a crisis, and they need to make sure that whoever they put in front of those members had the ability to demonstrate, not words, but proof that they can deliver a seamless transition to an organisation that's immediately going to give them the care and thought and professionalism to help their businesses drive forward. And we demonstrated that to Donata through our ongoing relationship with Gold Medal over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And that's, I think, why we were the only real people they were speaking to.
I mean, it's interesting you say that it mirrors so well with parts of your business and parts of theirs, but you have made clear, or certainly in the press release you sent to us, that you are still going to have Global running as a very separate entity. So you're not going to just roll bits into World Choice or into other parts of your business. You're going to have them separate. Is that right? But presumably you can find synergies somewhere.
Oh, we found synergies immediately. So, without talking about people and staff, and it's not right for me to talk about Global and Donata people while we're going through what they're going through in terms of consultations. But in terms of synergies, there's obviously immediate synergies. But in terms of Global as a group, for us, similar to when World Choice came on board in 2008, they are very proud of that World Choice brand, and global members are very proud of being part of that global family. The reality for us is that it doesn't matter if they sit within Global, TTL, World Choice. They are and will sit within the global brand under a global branded proposition with the same mechanisms to make payments and structures, but they'll get access to all the additional service like our other members do when they become a full membership proposition. So the Travel Network Group will negotiate the commercials. The Travel Network Group will provide the marketing and the services and all the other things that add to the value of the existing Global Travel Group proposition. So for us, it's very easy. They sit under the Travel Network Group as Global, but they will be represented by the Travel Network Group. They'll feel very much part of the Travel Network Group family, but have their own unique identity within the global proposition. So it's just an easy solution to do.
Yeah, sorry, Gary. On the point about, you'll still be doing all the commercials and negotiations. I mean, this does give you even greater scale. Perhaps you could just remind everybody on the sort of the numbers then, or that this takes you up to, and what you think that will, or what effect that will have in terms of your sort of negotiating or buying power, etc.
Well, we're very clear about what our responsibility and role is on behalf of our members, and it is about representing them. And clearly, the more relevant we are to specific business partners, the more important we are to them, the more they're going to be partnered to us. And we have fantastic relationships with 170 business partners, but we can't be important to them all. We have to be important to those business partners that want to partner properly and give our members key benefits. And therefore, scale is hugely important. And we all saw what happened when Thomas Cook Fair. We saw the disruption that happened in the market when a competitor, you could argue, of ours made an acquisition that startled the whole industry in a way that really made us sit up and think about what our strategy is and what other people's strategies are. So the reality is we have to be growing and we have to be relevant. And the best way of doing that is by looking after our individual members' needs, so that when we're growing with members who absolutely want to belong to us. And that gives us relevance to our business partners. So it doesn't matter how big we are, if our membership is not engaged and we're not able to demonstrate they're engaged, then we have no relevance anyway. We have a fantastically engaged membership organisation through all the hard work and brilliance of our existing members and the work we do, but we're really clear on what our role is to represent them. So having 1,025 members and moving that up to adding 285 members on top of that, which is what Global brings us, brings us to nearly 1,300, if my maths are right, members. That really helps us have those conversations. And of course,
does that make you the biggest consortium in the UK now, Gary?
Well, I've always claimed we're the biggest consortium in the UK, but my numbers may always be really biased. But in terms of leisure market, absolutely. In terms of members,
and do you count that on
absolutely
businesses, or do you count it on branches?
So we count it on both. So if you count it on branches, we're over 1,350 members. If you take us on our actual members, we're probably about the 800 member mark. And the reason we count it on branches is because we recognise our members with branches, we have to engage with each one of those branch managers in the same way as if they're an individual member, to drive specific sales that are relevant to that specific shop in that specific location. So we really take it to that level of engagement at the membership level. So, but even if you take it on legal entities or branches, we are still by far the biggest leisure proposition in the market. We have been already, but this just adds to that in terms of that ability to have that conversation. Now, that's massively important to our existing members. If we'd have woken up on Friday morning and Global Travel Group had gone somewhere else, that would not have been a great proposition for our existing members. So having the voice and being able to engage in that way right now is massively important. Also for our existing business partners.
Sorry, Gary.
You look at our business partners now going through the challenges of COVID-19 and the challenges of coming out the other side of this. We're hearing of consultations, trade teams being under threat, how they're going to be really challenged on what they look like when they come out the other side of this. Being able to get to as many members as possible through one channel will be really important to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned there about members, waking up on Friday morning and that being a good proposition for them that you've done the deal. What's the reaction been like? I mean, have people universally felt that is a positive thing in terms of your membership? So perhaps we can go first with what TTNG members have thought, and then also what the reactions has been from the global members, because I know, as you said, you've been speaking to a lot of them.
Yeah, so I mean, the reaction from the Travel Network Group, TTA and World Choice, and we held meetings with both the TTA members separately to the World Choice members, because it's the differentiation in proposition. And what's been brilliant is the open and honest conversations. There has obviously been challenges around, are we able to carry on the levels of service if we're adding 285 members to it?
And I was going to say, we have had a few people contacting us, or just mentioning, and we've seen on social media that they're worried that they might not, that your resources might be diluted, I guess, because there's more people to service now.
Yeah. And of course, they're all absolute valid questions. We got teams on furlough ourselves in terms of that resource and process. So that's one of the conversations. Now, that is a conversation that is very easy for us to answer. In the last 6 years, we've gone from 600 members to 1,050, and our levels of service have just got better. So bringing on 285 members initially at one size looks like a horrible proposition to impact upon our existing resource. But of course, there will be additional resource brought on board to oversee that. But the synergies that we bring mean that it's still hugely cost effective. And the success of this deal isn't about bringing on 285 members. It's bringing on individual members that are treated as individuals, whilst our existing members do not feel any change of that relationship. And that's how we bring it on. And whilst, of course, from time to time, we may get that wrong in individual level, the ability we have within our process processes and systems to be able to flex our model and bring in the right people or resource correctly with technology and automation means we have no doubt that we will be able to deliver for our existing members and they won't see any impact upon the service levels. And through this crisis, even with furlough, our members have been engaged on a 10-day cycle of Zoom calls with me, the senior management team, keeping up to speed, up to date on all the comms, all their issues are being dealt with and supported in all those three areas: cash into their business, controlling costs and customer conversations, no matter what they are. There's been huge support levels throughout the whole of the crisis.
Okay, and then let's move on to the global members then. You've been on calls, I know, with them as well. And again, you know, there's been, I guess, a few concerns. I mean, actually, one of the biggest concerns that has been raised by global members is around refunds. And they're wanting to know whether the refunds that have yet to be paid are going to remain with Donata, or if you're going to take on that liability when you take on the membership. So I wonder if you can perhaps talk broadly about the reaction, but also specifically about that concern.
Yeah, sure. Have you been on the furlough calls with me, Lucy? And I'm not. So have you been on the calls with the global members?
Oh, I've got eyes and ears everywhere.
You have, yeah. So very, and yeah, we've already had this conversation with global members, so I think it's in the public domain from that sense. And we've also agreed with Donata and Global, the existing what we can and can't say around that. But I can say this. All the challenges that Global have admitted they're having with those refund credit card issues, and we know the number and the exact number per bookings, we've told us about it. We will obviously see that noise when we go through the due diligence. At the moment, that's staying with Global and staying with Donata. We will make a decision through the process about adding resource to resolve those problems on behalf of those members, or if it makes sense to keep it where it is, and then obviously they'll be protected and warranted by Donata to carry that on. One of the things that we've already said to Donata and Global is that we will help with resource. We have additional resource we can bring to bear outside of the Travel Network Group to solve those problems in a entrepreneurial, creative way, because we have lots of members who are able to do that, who have people who aren't doing anything at the moment. So in terms of those refund credit challenges, we think we can bring some resource to solve it. But either way, it's not going to be
but the liability doesn't transfer as part of the deal to the Travel Network Group. It's just that you want to be able to help those members. Correct.
It's also, and if it did transfer, Lucy, it would be warranted by Donata. So we're not taking on any additional risk. Okay. It's a partnership with ourselves and Donata to resolve these issues for global members. And I think that's why we can have this open, honest conversation, and why we're talking about it now and not at completion. We're talking it now because we have a real trust between Travel to Governmental, Donata, ourselves and Global about solving the problems, not passing the buck anywhere, but recognizing what they are and making sure that the global members feel comfortable that people are going to get to those issues and solve them as quickly as they possibly can.
Well, I'm clearly sure that will be welcome news, because it's a big headache for people, I think, and that's certainly what we've been hearing. So that's going to be welcome.
And we've answered those questions directly to the global members. You know, they've asked numerous questions. We've got a huge Q&A that we're going to send back to them afterwards from all the questions from the different Zoom calls. We've got 2 more Zoom calls with the final part of those members. And yeah, we've answered those questions directly to, look, this is what we are going to do. We will work it out through the due diligence and we'll get to solve it as quickly as we can.
Okay. Now, just confirm then the completion date. Is there a date for completion that you're working towards? Just because we haven't got that yet.
So we are working as quickly as possible. So we expect it to be complete within 6 to 8 weeks. We have 3 months to complete, but 6 to 8 weeks to completion. There's also a huge amount of work already been preempted before the heads were signed, so that we can announce when the heads were signed. So then 6 to 8 weeks is really quick for this type of deal. But again, the reassurances around the warranties that we get from Donata.
Yeah. Okay. And now a couple of times, Gary, you've mentioned about this additional resource to obviously service some of these issues, and obviously just because you've got more members, you need to service generally. So, and then you sort of mentioned that you've got some people who aren't doing anything at the minute that could be used. So are we talking about sort of some short-term, pooling of, like getting some favors in to help, but presumably you're also going to have to up staff more permanently when you've got everybody running underneath you. You see what I mean? Like, and where are you going to get the money from to be recruiting people? Nobody's recruiting at the minute, or very few are. Most people are really having tough decisions to make about right-sizing their business. This seems to be a phrase we're using all the time. So just talk us through how that's going to work, because as you say, you are going to need more resource.
Yeah, but not as much as you think, because if you think about, the most important thing is communicating with the members, and we have ways and means and structures and strategies to do that with very few resource required. On the professional way, we report that back. A huge amount of the issues around technology and payment systems and automation of those systems, which we're already doing for our managed service proposition. We're already operating through the same technology that Global are doing for our managed service proposition, which means that the technology merges together very quickly. And we have resource that we are able to access to solve some of those issues. And obviously we've got the resource coming over from Global, Donata, that is already there, specifically in some of the finance teams that will support that challenge. Global itself only ran on something like 21 people in terms of the resource, whereas the Travel Network Group has got 62, 63 people look after the Travel Network Group. But the key area is finance. So the biggest noise in refund credit challenges, that finance, that's the big area that we need to help sort out, and it'll either come to us or it'll stay with Donata with support from us if it needs to be. So it's not about calling in favours, it's absolutely with a clear strategy and structure that comes through the due diligence that tells us we might need 6 here or 2 there or 4 there. Okay. And we work it out.
And you're saying that some people are coming across from Global in terms, you're saying they had 21 people in the sort of management team running Global, but how, so I know that
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there are those choices to be made. We had a conversation with the Global team on Friday. So that conversation on Friday is the first time I get to speak to the team. I've been invited by the Global team to speak to that team. And clearly there'll be conversations there which we need to hold until we have those conversations with those individuals at that stage.
Okay, so all right, so that's still to have, but there is, because presumably some, if not all of them, are under consultation as part of the Donata review. So I know we can't, it's sensitive, isn't it? So we can't talk about it. But do you, I guess I get from you is, do you anticipate taking some of the Global team, I guess, for continuity, relationships, and things like that?
Yeah. You've got to anticipate of taking some, of course. So, and again, it's difficult for me to talk about it because they don't work for me. They're not my team. I haven't completed. Yeah. I'm not in control of it, so it's not right for me to discuss it. But you can logically see what would happen through the process. That there would be opportunities that for continuity that makes sense.
And even though they're all based in Chester and you're down in Woking, that wouldn't be a problem because they would be able to work remotely. I guess we're in this new world where we've all got very used to it. So is that something that would be possible?
Well, as our whole organisation are all working remotely now, then absolutely, yeah. So I'm the only one person in my office as we currently sit. So.
All right, now let's just hypothetically say that there is some Global members who aren't sure about the new world and they're not sure they want to move across to TTNG. And, I say this because there's been other things that happened, haven't there? Cherie Richards, their commercial director, hugely well respected and liked in that organisation. She's moved to another group, not just travel, and wanting to set up a new division there and get more agents in. So, are you worried that some people might not be keen, and so you might not get all 285? And how locked in are they, and when could they leave if they wanted to go to somewhere else?
So listen, we unlike some of our competitors, we do not have horrific contracts that lock people in. Members need to stay with us because they want to stay with us because we're meeting their service needs and their requirements. And when we're getting it wrong, they're telling us, and they then start to get it right. And when we do get it right, we keep getting right consistently from whoever they are. So I'm not worried about it. I know our membership proposition stands up for the brilliant people in our organisation and the fact we've grown from 600 members to 1,000. We haven't done that by locking people into contracts. The Global members have a renewal process that they come through and come up with. And at that point, they will be within their rights to have those conversations with either the existing Donata Global team until completion or with us at that point. And, I don't want any of those members to go anywhere, but that's within their choice and right to do it. All I'd hope is they would give us time to have the conversation, listen, and let us show us those solutions and services. When we acquired Will Choice in 2008, we were in a completely different world, financial crisis. TTA was a transactional business, not an emotional relationship business. And yet we kept a huge amount of those members because they listened to and believed that we were going to try to make things better. And I think we proved and demonstrated that. I think you will hear and see, whilst yes, people will ask the right questions to challenge and understand what's going on. And quite rightly, actually, there's been a huge amount of warmth from global members and from the Travel Network Group members off the back of this. That's not been controlled by us. It's been, you guys have had that social media come through. So all the news we've seen is positive. Of course, it's right that people question it and challenge it, because we're in a time when you should be questioning and challenging everything. But no, we don't expect many members to go. I'm sure members from the crisis that the global have had through the resource requirements, that there are some unhappy global members, but we've also know there's been global members got fantastic relation with those teams that you've mentioned before this crisis, and that's why they're global and that's why they chose to be global. So we think that we become the right ownership for them to be a fully focused membership proposition within the travel.
And you're going to earn, you're going to work hard to make sure they want to stay rather than tying anybody into it. Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah. One of the things you did, Gary, right on the start, I mean, you recognised this crisis. I remember talking to you when we had that event before lockdown, and you were very, very aware that you thought it was going to be very serious, very significant. You've just said you now see it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I know you took some decisions in your own business, and you said you had to do that as an example to your members that they also needed to make tough decisions. How has that panned out? As that, in terms of your business, clearly you're surviving and doing okay, and you're acquiring, etc. But how are your members faring? Have they made the right decisions, the necessary decisions they've had to make, and are they by and large weathering this storm?
Yeah, I think when we had that conversation at that event which you held, which is a brilliant event with Lord Digby Jones, and I remember us being very emotional at that time because there was this confusion. And I remember you and I came in afterwards saying, that was a powerful conversation you and I had at that presentation around realizing that this is not going away. This is a scary time. And it seems like forever ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
It seems forever ago. But when we made the decisions about the first part of the crisis, there was no furlough scheme. There was no government loans. There was only what we thought was this catastrophe about to happen. And we believed that we could lose up to 65% of our members because we couldn't see how they could go over 6 months without any income. And now we're looking, potentially it could be 6 to 8 to 10 months without any income, but there are signs of hope there. So we made those decisions around the redundancies with that in mind, saying to members, look, this is so real. We have to control and make sure we have a pot of cash that can survive us over the next 12 months without any revenue incomes. Then the furlough changed and we brought those people back off furlough. We are still got those people all on furlough and we're hoping to run that furlough for as long as possible. Obviously, at that 2-week crisis, we looked at what else should we be doing to make sure we come out the other side of this. And that's when we talked to partners and opportunities. Now, I can say the global deal, I am not threatening that pot of cash we have to survive over the next period of time. This is a deal where it wasn't about payments up front. It was about making sure the members met and came to the right place. So we've not risked any of that cash for that proposition.
I was going to say, you've not risked any of that cash, but I mean, are you able to say whether you paid anything at all for it, or how much the deal was worth? Or, I mean, I know people never like to give away money, but I mean, there are some suggestions that actually you've just taken it on as opposed to necessarily actually purchasing it. So I don't know whether you want to
there is a value for that business and we're rightly going to pay a value for that, but obviously a different value to what we would have paid 6 months ago. But what we've done is set it over a period of time that it costs us no money up front and we pay it over a period of time. And it's okay to speak about that because I think it's right to speak about that because it tells you that Donata are making decisions not about making money from a proposition, but making sure their members are considered and looked after in the right model. I'm sure Donata could have sold that to other people at a higher cost for upfront cash, and there will be people out there trying to bag really good deals. But this wasn't about that for Donata or us. It was about, look, we're not going to risk our business to acquire 285 members, but absolutely our business benefits from bringing those 285 members on board. So how do we work out a deal that fits everybody? And Donata, fair play to them, have been incredibly entrepreneurial in putting that together with ourselves. So that's brilliant and it's fantastic. I genuinely believe it's fantastic for those global members. We're going to get huge support to them and they're going to give us huge amount of learning and challenges and conversations. But it's brilliant for our existing members that we come out of this the other side relevant. And going back to your original question, how robust our members have been, today we've had about 26 members that have closed their doors since the start of this crisis. And I think that's remarkable. Out of the 1,025 members, we've got a pipeline of new business coming in, but actually all we ever obsess about is our existing members and meeting their individual needs. And the furlough scheme, the government loan, all those things have been phenomenal to keep businesses alive.
And do you worry when the furlough ends, though, like come October, do you worry that there could be more pain?
I do worry, and I don't really worry as much for our existing members. What I worry for is our business partners and those that are in the middle and have a bit more commitment and exposure around that and where they are. And I know that's certainly the concern for the CAA and others around where they sit. So yes, I worry for our whole industry around that. And it doesn't matter, the bigger you are, the more you're bleeding, and the more that support has been required. So. I'm worrying for us all, and let's hope that we trade our way out of it with confidence to the consumer. And that's what's really disappointing about the government decisions and communications around the quarantine and the ESSA advice and all those other things, because they got off to a phenomenal start in giving us an ability to survive, and they've just been muddled with their clarity and conversation and communication. And we've seen that. I don't think we need to comment that much on it, because
I do want you to comment on it. It was going to be my next question. Well, because you mentioned there saying that, starting to see things picking up a little bit. Everybody is reporting there's a little bit of, green shoots appearing. But, clearly one hand tied behind our back in many ways because of exactly as you say. And I mean, we were waiting for this decision or this clarity on the air bridges expected on Monday, then expected tomorrow. I've now heard it's going to be Thursday. It's just another day. Delay and allowing it's hard for people to plan to restart on the 6th if they've got less time. So perhaps you can comment on how you feel that's affected the industry. We would be interested to know, Gary.
I'm going to give a balanced view, so I have to, because otherwise you go one way or the other and people stop listening to you. The reality is, by their lack of indecision, it absolutely causes a confused message out to the customer. But I can understand why they keep tripping themselves over. The Leicester conversation that's happening right now, I'm sure has freaked them out, and they will go, well, we're about to announce that we're all safe and get more people on the air bridges. I'm sure there's a whole load of things that we don't think about from the travel industry perspective that is impacted on that, and we saw that through the conversations with Bays and Bays and DFT, through the challenges we were having around everything else. And you and I know that every day we were expecting a government decision on the refunds, the package travel regulations, and they were making decisions that we thought were absolutely crackers, but something else must have been influencing that, because it was just illogical for them not to make that decision. So I'm not protecting them. I think they've been appalling in their ability to communicate. It absolutely causes confusion. But selling holidays now to go in July and August, I don't think we should be doing that anyway until we have absolute certainty. But obviously giving people confidence to book for end of this year, next year, it's really important that we just have clarity. But I think they just don't know. They are confused themselves about the infection rates and where the public opinion is about keeping infection rates and saving lives and looking after everybody, or opening up the economy. And I think the data and stats and science can argue it in both ways, and they're caught between the middle of it.
And it's a fine balance. And in fact, we've got a story running this week about agents that are saying they, regardless of whether the customer is confident to travel or not, we've got agents saying they are not prepared to sell in July and August because they just can't do it with 100% confidence that they're giving the right advice to their customers. And any really good agent would not want to do that, wouldn't put themselves in that position or put their customer in that position. So you say that you don't think we should be selling in July and August. Is that the advice you're giving to your members at the moment, to exercise caution over the next 2 months?
Well, exercise absolute caution and make sure that the customer's fully aware of the decisions they're making. And travel insurance is a massive issue. Supplier failure insurance is a massive issue. Clarity around that, understanding the logic of a lockdown or a local lockdown. If a green light goes to a red light for a country overseas, how do you get clarity around that? And I know to communicate that from us to our members is really difficult. communicate that from our members to their customers is a real challenge. You're there to give confidence and advice and give them as much information as possible. And, sometimes that is about saying, look, would I go on that holiday with my family, or would I advise, and I think great agents would take that into account, as desperate as we all are to do bookings to travel as quickly as possible. But the reality is there's tiny amounts of bookings going on for July and August. That's the truth of it. Yes, we want it to happen.
Despite what you wouldn't think that if you'd read some of the nationals this weekend, who was saying it was an explosion of bookings. But I think
we all know that we're not going to talk that down. We love them to talk it up, fantastic, but we all know what the reality is, and the reality is our members are opening up their doors slowly and carefully, quite rightly, and they're having conversations. There is absolutely an increase in level of inquiries and bookings, but nowhere near an explosion, but certainly it's happening, and we've been talking about that for probably about 3 weeks.
And that's why and for when, Gary, when you say there's some inquiries and bookings, is it really into 2021, or given what we've heard, are you seeing a little bit maybe for autumn and the winter season?
Yeah, there are absolutely bookings happening for 2020, end of 2020 onwards. And, the UK break, we talked about it, we've had some conversations with our business partners around getting that sorted and resolved, and that thankfully has been. But there are bookings happening for 2020, but obviously 85% is happening for 2021, or about 10% is happening for the end of 2020. But we're talking tiny numbers for this year. I can give you some stats. We're talking about 16 to 20% of normal revenues over the course of the last 7 to 10 days. From what our numbers tell us. Now, that's not an explosion, that's a gradual increase, and that's fantastic when you put it into perspective that 3 weeks ago we were saying plan for no bookings for June, July, August, September, hope they start coming September, October, because nobody knows what's going on with this infection, and we still don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you, out of interest, you talk about Leicester, have you got members in the Leicester area that perhaps opened their doors, started to move, and people having schools back open, and now it's all been locked down again? I know that's just one city, but have you got any members affected by that?
Yeah, well, Millington Travel is one of those. The challenge they have is they will have, and you think about the complication, stores opening, some people in the region, some people outside of the region getting to and from what they were planning for this week, all those challenges that not just them but other members are having in that region, and you feel for them because they are now in that additional extra pressure and noise outside of everybody else. They must feel like they're in the middle of the whirlwind, where we're all hoping that bookings are starting to come back, and then their whole community gets locked down, and that's another knock on the health and wealth and mental stability of us all around those fears, having to go through it again. And this is why it's been such a debilitating journey for us all in terms of where we go. And we've genuinely felt our role is to be there and listen and help our members have clarity around thought through the noise that's constantly going on, that's being bombarded from every single side.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think you get a balanced view from me on government. I think we shouldn't be shouting about I think we should be having a calm, thoughtful, rational discussion about the issues and being aware and understanding to help us make the best decisions, not a reactive, angry decision because we just feel it's wrong when it looks like it's wrong.
But should we lobby? I know you're saying we should
absolutely.
Okay, I was going to say, so we should have these calm decisions, and we should lobby, but in the right way, because the accusation to our industry is always that we don't do a good job at lobbying, and so we don't get our point across, and then there's this confusion.
Yeah, absolutely. We should lobby, and that's the challenge when you then how do you get recognised and announced? Is it those that shout the loudest get heard? So we should lobby, and we should absolutely do the analysis around the lobbying. I think we've done some really good things as an industry over this crisis, but the proof is ultimately in the pudding. We haven't got the refund credit notes approved by the CAA. They told us they were going to do it. They haven't done it. We haven't got the underwriting from the government. We haven't got the package travel regulations issue resolved, and that all started 16 weeks ago. So we've lobbied, we've given evidence, we've had those conversations,
and we tried to have quarantine not imposed, but it was. I know that we're hopefully going to get it overturned for some destinations, but not yet. We haven't heard that yet. So
and with quarantine and that logic and that conversation, I can understand why government's making decisions around science and advice and those other challenges, even though I think they're completely wrong. But with the package travel regulations and with the refund credit notes, they have to listen to the experts and the impact that's having on the industry. And we've made those arguments strategically, tactically, with evidence-based. And we had the CA's backing, the FT's backing, Bayes' backing, and it got to the political decision maker, and they weren't prepared to support that when other countries who are in exactly the same position have, and it's given those industries a different lifeline. And we haven't seen the catastrophe of failures yet, but it's there if we don't get to a point where bookings start to save us.
Sorry, Gary, but when you say we've done this, are you lobbying personally? Are you in groups of people talking within? I mean, we're not parties to knowing exactly what's going on. We assume ABTA is and various bodies, obviously the airline bodies. But what are you doing as TTNG or as Gary Lewis?
So we have aligned ourselves with John de Vial, ABTA. We've been supported them in the evidence that we've gone and gathered for them to take through to Bayes and DFT. We listened to their arguments about the structure of the refund credit note. We helped support that refund credit note argument in terms of the design of what that was, agreed it, put that out to our members to help decide that. And then we supported them with it when they come to us to say, right, this is the meeting that we're going to be holding. These are the points we're trying to make. Can we get your support around that? We've written and signed a letter that went off to the Chancellor and the government around those issues. And we've done all of those things and we haven't made any movement on it. None. And that's what's
so frustrating.
Actually, so frustrating. And the quarantine issue only seems to have come about when the airlines threatened a legal letter. So the power of the airlines is not underestimated, but we as an industry have to somehow work out a way that we can be better at this, and that there does need to be some alignment. And ABTA
between aviation and with the rest of the industry, you mean?
There has to be, because we're all in a chain, and the airlines are supported by ourselves. EasyJet Holidays, Jet2 Holidays. These airlines are all benefiting from our distribution and our trade, and so are BA and so are Emirates and so are all those guys. There has to be some alignment where we're supporting the conversations around government around some of these issues, because we would have all benefited from the package regulation changes and the airline changes of giving our ability not to have to refund consumers, because they haven't been refunded any quicker.
And where are you now on refund? I mean, what proportion would you say? I mean, because every time I talk to people, because it's gone a little bit quiet, one assumes that perhaps it's nearly sorted. Then you speak to people and they go, "Oh no, I've got loads still out, hundreds still outstanding." So where are you as a group on your refunds?
Be under no illusions. Every single day we still have exactly the same conversations about escalating the refund issues to our business partners around the challenges that they're having to refund. So whilst it's better in that we know across the majority of our business partners what their refund policy is. So we know, for example, that they might be rolling an 8-week rolling refund process from the cancellation date based on either the package amount or waiting for the airline funds. We know how long it's taken for the airlines to refund. And if you've got 100 airlines, they're all refunding in slightly different ways, which adds to the complication. And then the normal error and omission and then the volume. So depending on which business partner you're trading with, depends on what service levels you're getting and how effective they are in that refund process. So if you just add that up and multiply that by 170 business partners, 1,025 members, and off you go, you can see why there's still a huge amount of noise in that world. And that is the most frustrating, challenging conversation still our members are having. That customer conversation where the customers are shouting and screaming.
We're 4 months down the line now, aren't we, for some of them?
Absolutely. But obviously we're 4 months, and what's happening is as the
keeps rolling.
rolls out, it keeps rolling. Now, you could argue there's less bookings coming down the chain because we weren't making bookings in March and May for the 3 months, July, August, September. And that is true, but it's still there. And then obviously what you've got then added on is where people in the early start of the booking started to move their bookings to a bit later, let's say 4 or 5 months.
Having to do them again.
Into it. So that hasn't gone away at all. Okay. It's just not a topical thing that we're all shouting about now.
Yeah,
that's unfair. I don't mean topical, but you know what I mean.
I know, but there's just other things, and there's just other things now. And I guess the air bridges and restarting has become a sort of a key thing for people. But it's interesting to note how it's still a very relevant conversation for you. All right. Well, listen, I don't really want us to end on a miserable note, because that
No, let's
obviously
not.
this interview was largely about the acquisition that you're making, which is obviously going to be, change the shape of the industry as well. It's a landmark moment, isn't it, with two consortia coming together. So we're very interested in it, and we'd love to follow how that goes, Gary. We wish you all the best of luck with that. I hope it goes well for you.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for your time.
All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.